Alrighty. So we are recording and we should be live. Okay, one moment. Excellent. We are live. Stacy beat us in there. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Alrighty. Let's take a look here. Welcome everyone to High Frequency Living. High Frequency Living, where we discuss all of our real life experiences and we look to elevate them. We look to find the tools, the secrets, the hacks, whatever we call it, the cheat codes to live in this reality in our day-to-day lives in a high frequency above the turbulence of what's going on in the world. uh, I got that phrase from you, Mom. Above the turbulence. I really like that one. You know another one that I think we
No, we're waiting for Ahad to come back in and join us. Okay. I think Ahad will be back momentarily. Okay. All righty. Ahad will be back if he can be back. In the meantime, our high frequency living today was about relationships and being in situations where we want to establish relationships. But before we begin, I'd like to greet everyone with In Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. So I'm not sure what questions was Ahat was going to ask, but I can share with you some things concerning the topic of relationships that I've learned over time in the many multidimensional relationships I have. I am a daughter. I have a mother. I have a father. I have sisters. I have children, grandchildren, and I have had marriages and relationships, and I have learned some things that I think may be helpful to people who are navigating or hoping to navigate these situations. And much of what I have understood is not what's normally accepted in our world. There's a level of thinking that everything should be the status quo, that we should be married, that we should have children, that we should have a house, and that it should have a picket fence, and that the person should be fully devoted to us, and that our children will take care of us in our old age, and that whatever anyone else has, it becomes ours. That's mostly not the case in the way the world is operating. Although you may have relationships and friends and people who have these experiences, it is unlikely that every experience in your life will be the status quo or what we perceive or think should be happening with us. Aha! And Ahad is back. Can you hear me, Ahad? Waiting for you to get back so that we could hear your take and your interaction with the audience and the live stream. So, can you hear me?
You hear me?
Oh, there, I can hear you now too. Yes. So, welcome back. I was just introducing everyone to the idea that we're going to talk about relationships. And I'm sharing that, I've had many years of many different kinds of relationships, but I'd like to toss you the big softball so that you may ask your
Right.
questions.
Well, so two things. One, I would like to initiate with a, a off-subject quote that is always relevant, and I think is a kind of a food for thought, which is, and to me, it's very powerful, which is, we are so free that we choose bondage.
Yeah.
And I I, I want to like explore that before we even get into the actual topic. Just what was your mindset about that quote? Because to me, that's like, whoa. Like, you're so free that we choose, choose the bondage. We choose all of the other things that come along with that, or ways that looks. What inspired that, or where'd you get that from?
And from having lived the life where I have seen my own choices, and taken jobs that were suffering, being choosing to be in a relationship with someone who ultimately created a circumstance within me that made me feel imprisoned. Not that they did it, but I felt that. And so I don't know what they felt. I can only tell you what I felt. But I think
Right.
one of the things that really made me think of it is that we use language like, I want to be branded. I want to be and of course I think of branding cattle. I want to be brand. I want to be identifiable. I want it to be so permanent that I can never be something else, which I have learned that I'm different, often. I'm different every year, every
Mhm.
month, sometimes by the weekly, and that branding and making choices because what we're looking at is actually not what we want. So, are we reaching for peace and prosperity, or are we reaching for notoriety and wealth?
Right.
So we see someone and they are a celebrity, and then we start fantasizing that they're DMing us on our Instagram. We start, oh, that must be them saying that to me, or there must be some situation in which someone who is not really what we want, we're skipping over the things we want and we're going to the lesser understandings. So if we really wanted the experience of wealth in our love life, we might not choose someone who is a celebrity or that to be the model, or use the model of people who are on Instagram as the model of who we want it to be. So, Ahad, are you coming back in? We keep losing you. So, that was what inspired that thought of um, the idea that we're so free, we choose bondage, slavery, suffering. We choose to go somewhere. We choose to shop in a way where people don't treat us right. We choose banks that take money from us. We are making those choices, which keep the ones who are in control, but it is our willingness to participate in that way that makes that so. So that's that's my understanding about that. There are other things that we can talk about, and some of the things that I think may come up is how to choose the best circumstance when we are wanting to be in relationship. And for me, the biggest idea is, are you in relationship with yourself? How are you doing with you? Do you like you? I do soul retrievals, and I see that sometimes people dislike themselves so much they'll cut themselves up in pieces or allow somebody else to sometimes, and not recognize that it's a dislike, a deep distaste and dislike of self. Sometimes we automatically, without having a conscious thought, make decisions that are not in the best interest of self. So before we move into having a relationship with someone else, it's imperative and incumbent upon us to be in relationship with ourselves. Ah, you're back. It's good to see you again. We'll have to plan on being in the same state when we do this. Are you talking? Okay, I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me? Okay. Did you have another thought? Okay, I'm going to continue. So the first idea is that we be in relationship with self, like take time to recognize what is it that we really want, what is it that we would like to bring into our sphere of understanding that's compatible with what we know about ourselves. The idea of being by yourself or being alone is kind of a misnomer, where none of us are ever alone. But we've been kind of sold this understanding that we are always separate. We are never, it's always us against the world, that we're never really part of each thing. We're not part of our family if they disagree. We're not part of our classroom or our workspace or the people who live in our apartment complex or in our neighborhoods. We think of ourselves so separately that it pieces us apart. And then we determine that one thing we must have is another person. But if we have not yet figured out what our contribution is, then we arrive at the party as a consumer. We just want to consume someone else's energy and time to make us feel better. And that's not an attractive package for another person. And it's often not realized. We don't realize that we're coming and we're not bringing any obvious gifts because we're expecting to receive, like it's incumbent upon all others who we want to be in relationship with to provide us with the things that we think we should have. So that's something that would require a little fine tuning so that we can be the present. We would like to be the gift that the person unwraps and they keep unwrapping. And it's always a delight, always a surprise, always something wonderful. But that requires some cultivation. That requires more than the immediate interaction of the molecules when you first meet someone. It also would be good if we realize that that's what we should be preparing to give another, that we want someone to be with us, and what is it that we want to contribute to them so that they stay engaged and inspired to stay engaged and inspired. And that way it helps the two of you together to mount the campaign to live together victoriously no matter what else happens. that it helps you navigate the children, it helps you navigate the families, it helps you navigate all of the other people who may come about in different iterations of your life. So I'd like to share that first, the idea of relationship with self is paramount, and that it's necessary for us to assess, are we clear with someone, or do we feel tired and broken and want someone else to just come in and take the responsibility for doing everything for us? And who wants to do that? Do we recognize that we may be wanting someone to take the burden of our lives away from us? And then what have we done? Then we have given some other person's child their own life and then our life too, and that could be burdensome. So it is important to know that nobody owes you anything. Just because a person is born on earth within a few years of you, 10 or 15 years in either direction, doesn't mean that they owe you whatever they have accomplished, or that they owe you whatever it is that you would like to have in your life that they have and you want them to give it to you. So it's very important to recognize that all that we owe anyone is the truth. Everything else is a gift, and only if they feel like giving it. So all of the many attributes of love from our children and otherwise should be inspired by our behavior with each other. So these are very important points. The recognition to take the time to see, am I good? Am I right with myself? What is it that I really want? Do I want someone to come in and take care of everything for me? Or am I willing to contribute to something greater and find someone like minded to do that with? So, Ahad, you're back again. Can I be heard? Okay. So the next idea of nobody owes us anything. In fact, it would be wise to develop yourself in such a way that you are the gift to everyone, that you are the gift to your friends, to your family, to those who you can be the gift to. Not everyone is operating that way, but whoever you can contribute to, that you be that gift instead of feeling that they owe me, they need to pay me, they need to give me, I deserve, and they are the ones who have to do it, which is very prevalent in our experience. And we have so many examples where people accomplish that, and we think, oh, that's a good strategy. So I can hear your background, Ahad.
You can hear me now.
Yes.
Oh, let's go. Now we just got to get that extra black box from out of the screen.
So we've been talking about some of the prerequisites to be in relationship, but I'm not sure if that's really where you want it to go first.
It actually is. It's the foundation to the conversation is starts with this mindset that we have about, okay, I'm gonna work on self, or I'm working on self so that I can be at a certain frequency or at a certain level to attract the appropriate things for me, or attract what I want to experience, the type of experiences, so that I could even be worthy of, so to say, the type of experiences that I want to have. But that starts with these, what you're just speaking about, the prerequisites that come to these things. And I'll definitely want to focus in on, how does working on self make it possible, a clear path for you to be able to have all of what you want.
And it's so interesting because you and I were talking about somebody in our family, and you were saying they were in the middle of a breakup, and you were saying um, that person is not a good companion. So they should not be surprised that somebody doesn't want to be companion with them.
All right, hold up. She's making it seem like I be gossiping about people in the family. That's not how it was
No,
intended.
we were having a very similar discussion to the one we're having now about relationships and the idea that we see people break up and get together in front of us, and you were saying, this is, I can see how that would be possible in this circumstance from what you could see from the outside. And I thought that was a very thoughtful comment. I thought that was a very, very thoughtful comment because the individuals in the relationship, even though as they break up, all the information comes out about the things that were not acceptable.
Mhm.
Has the person examined themselves to see, are they being a good companion, partner, whatever the circumstances, friend, family member, mother, father, sister, brother? Are they bringing to the equation the thing that would make a person feel secure and safe and want to be there? Are they giving that energy? So I thought that was interesting when you said that, and that speaks directly to being in relationship. That speaks directly to being in relationship with someone who it's necessary for you to have clarity when they come to you and they say, I don't want to be in this relationship with you anymore. Because what has happened is that you are not supporting the idea of a good relationship. So the next thing that I have for that, and I've thought about this many times because I've had many relationships of different types. It's not just love affairs. There are all kinds of relationships that require a multi-dimensional approach from all of us, but they all require respect. And I encourage everyone, we say honor, respect, and gratitude, but we take it to heart, even in talking to the children, to make sure that we give respect. When I'm talking to AI, I give respect. When I'm folding, when I'm using a towel, I'm folding it up and making sure that I'm respectful of self and everything around me. And this is where we get quite laxed, where we become so comfortable and so familiar with family that we don't remember to be respectful to what it is there is to be respectful of. And the thing about respect that's so amazing is that it's love adjacent. When you can be in respect, if you can make that let that be the North Star, like, let me find someone that I can be respectful to and that can be respectful to me, that equals love adjacent. That's like, it's not too far off from where, right from respect, I can jump into some level of love. So training yourself to think always in a way that you speak respectfully, that you're never too slack in how you talk, or that you have good mental hygiene, that you're not thinking thoughts that are less than respectful. So then then something less than respectful doesn't come out of your mouth. And if that's not possible, then the relationship may not be for you at that time. If your ability to have respect is too tenuous, if you fall out of respect, if then you can't be really love adjacent. If you have such a low opinion of the person and then you stay with them, what does that say then about you? And then if you have such a low estimation of the person, then how is it that you don't show it to them in your thought that they can pick up, or in the sound of your voice, or in what you cook, or what you do, or how you engage with them? So these things are not invisible. And at the very top of the list of things that must be had is respect. And it's not something that you're giving to another only it's something that every time you give it to another, you get it. It's this self um, fulfilling, satisfying cycle of getting back. So you give respect, you feel good, the person feels good, and then they feel the respect, and hopefully they develop and have respect over time for the fact that you have respect. And then from respect, you can get to love. When you're in disrespect, then you go the opposite way. And you can fall out of tolerance and agreement and the ability to be in a relationship with someone as your thought hygiene changes to something that's more a lower frequency and keeps you in lower frequencies of being disgruntled and unhappy. So, should we try this again?
At this point, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It looks like I'm about to be dealing with a real storm over here, so I'm assuming that's what's happening with this Wi-Fi. However, I do find it very interesting that uh, the just the dynamic of even what's going on right now, with the little Wi-Fi, all of a sudden having a tough time handling the stream,
Yeah.
just little things like this. It's very interesting. A lot to learn from. However, yes, I would love to continue with as we were going, as you were saying.
The next thing that I feel is very important, that I think there's four things that are often unsaid about what must happen in a relationship. The first one is respect because it's love adjacent. The second one is acceptance. And I say acceptance because there has to be a person comes to you and they are already the blueprint that they are. They're already a grown adult. They're already thinking whatever they think. They already have however many tattoos and piercings they have. They already are all of these things. And there's this level of it. Are you willing to be in um, compassion and compromise with that? So if you would, there's always this level of it's not just you anymore. And in the word compromise is the word promise. It's like, okay, I promise to have compassion for you so we can be
Mm,
together. So it's compromise. I promise to do this because if I want you to come to me, but I want you to be the other person that I didn't meet. I want you to be the person that I saw on Instagram. I don't want you to be the person that is here in front of me. I want you to be someone else, or I want you to be oriented a different way, or I want you to like different things, or I would like for all things about you to be different than they are, but I want you in the relationship because you're the one who's here. So the second thing is compromise. And this is about the idea of recognizing that the people who come to you deserve for them to be considered. They must be
right.
considered. It's not just me anymore. It's me and you. And it's the same way when you have a baby. It's not just you anymore. It's you and the baby. There's this, I have to now consider that it's more than just me. And that helps us all grow and be stronger and better, and to also expand into what other people's experiences are and what their reasons are for doing whatever they did. The third thing is a level of acceptance. When you bring, and there's a song about this, when you bring your divine energy into a relationship, there is an expectation that you will be accepted, not that you will be, someone will try to mound you into a piece of clay and make you do all the things they want you to do and go learn all the things and read the poetry and, be the mystical person or be the business person or go out there and be a millionaire because I want a millionaire, even though that's not how you showed up. So
Mm,
there's this idea of let me accept and be in agreement with whoever you are. Let me be in consent instead of dissonance with whatever you are. And I think that's a big important aspect. Then there's this idea of decision. Like you're in a relationship, you can't really decide about family and friends, but you can decide how much commitment and how much time and energy you will spend based on how harmonious they are with you. Or you can be very insular and think that, okay, it's just me and my family, so I accept that. And anybody who comes into me and my family, they have to make the decision that that's who I am too. So the decision is the action of commitment. So the four things really are respect, which is love adjacent, compromise, which is consideration that is not just you, acceptance, which is the agreement, and the consent that you will not expect the person to be what you want them to be, but that you will accept them as they are. And then the decision is the action of commitment. So when you make a decision like, we're going to be friends, we're going to be partners, we're going to be lovers, we're going to be, together as family. When you consciously make that decision, that is the action that then goes into motion to further deepen the relationship. And that is what we're calling commitment. So these things are the four things that I recommend that those who are looking for relationships consider. Consider, have you been in good relationship with self? Do you know what you really want? And does it require someone else who doesn't owe you anything to deliver it to you because you said you wanted it? If you really wanted it, are you capable of giving it to yourself? And then if you did give it to yourself, would your whole idea of a relationship change? Would you then want a different kind of person instead of the one that you thought could deliver the goods? So I think these things are important. Do we forget who we are, that we are divine creators and that we can create whatever we want? We don't have to um, put someone in bondage to do it for us. We don't have to enslave them. We don't have to tell them that's what they're supposed to do, expect them to take care of it because we are also creators. Have we given up our ability to be able to focus and manifest our own destinies? Wouldn't it be better to find someone who has a similar desire and combine your efforts and move together to create whatever it is you would like to create? I encourage people also, once they're in a relationship, to always remember, don't forget that you're talking to someone that you respect and or love. Don't allow your language to be such that it does not convey that idea, because I have learned over many decades that people do not stay where they do not get what they want. What they want and what they need requires them to stay in a relationship or not. And most times I see people leave relationships if they don't get what they need. And if what they need is acceptance, if what they need is respect, if what they need are these four tenets and you're not giving them, then it just doesn't work out. So you're encouraged to don't forget who you're talking to. If you're talking to your child, if you're whoever you are talking to, remember that it is important that if you say you love and respect them, that everything that comes out of your mouth says that. There is a model that I often say that say only what you want to see. Say only the thing that you want to see, no matter where you are in your emotional palette, no matter how high or low your emotions are. Say only what you want to see. This is a master's way of manifestation. Use your language not to create low realms of suffering and dissonance, but only to bring you the heaven that you want to have. It is important that we recognize that the other person is us. that we are our other selves, that we are all one and we're different fractals, holograms of multi-dimensional experience of the light and the divinity that exists in all living things, and that we are that fractal. So it's important that, when people say namaste, they're saying, I see the God in you. When we say in Lakesh, we're saying, I see the divinity that is in me, in you. So I'm going to honor that. So if we do that, it's difficult. It is not impossible, but it's difficult for people to rail against it if we know that that is true. What can they do with our knowingness? It's not a belief. It's not the lie, be lie. It's not the belief. It is, if I know that I know that I know, what is it that you can say to me that shakes my knowingness of who I am? And maybe my knowingness will influence you to be more of what you want to be and who you are. Our love is often weaponized. And this is another thing that Ahad and I have talked about. Once, Ahad, you said something to me which I thought was really interesting. You shared with me that you'd had a conversation with someone saying there are certain plateaus in the relationship and that you didn't want to move beyond certain levels in the relationship and you wanted to always keep that. Would you talk about that a minute?
When you speak about as far as actions and respect and the way that those things are shown, like there's certain like barriers or boundaries that you just cannot exceed or cross. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, actually, you were sharing with me that you had a conversation with someone you were in relationship with, and you're like, "Look, I don't want us ever to go below a certain point. Let's always keep our experience elevated at a certain point," and that had served you. That you had found that if you would keep, and what I understood you to be saying was, this is previous experience, but I understood you to be saying you wanted to keep things at the highest level no matter what the problems were. Does that help you recall?
Yeah. So that is exactly what I would like to, number one, be myself, and number two, experience. Um, I think that the goal of communicating and the goal of really what why we're having this whole discussion is that can we attract and connect with the person who can sustain that experience? It's one thing to want it, and a lot of us have clarity that we want higher frequency experiences. A lot of us have clarity that we want, you know, we want to be the best versions of ourselves, even when the best circumstances around us are not there, or or we're not receiving the best version of the other. We still want to be the best version of ourselves. However, can we attract a person who cares enough about being being who they are committed to being, that we both know and not just can verbally agree beforehand, but in the fire we can still hold ourselves to these levels of standards, so to say, or this level of high frequency experience that would prevent us from being able to cross down into certain levels of low, low vibes or energy. Now, I think one of the funniest things for me is, no matter how much something sounds good in my head and how much something uh like I think I get it, it's so funny to me how I find myself being so easily challenged by the living it part. And I just sometimes I laugh at myself like, boy, you really thought you was like calm, cool, and collective. You really thought you know you practiced your whole Ho'oponopono, or you really thought whatever it might be, like you get it, and I'm not like everybody else, and blah blah blah. All that sounds good. However, it's so funny to look back and be like, oh boy, but so easily did I behave in a different manner than what I would like to. And a lot of times, the standards of the world, I'm not saying it's up to the full standards of the world's way of low frequency behavior, but still, for who I want to be, I still quickly go down that. So I know it's a muscle that has to be built as well. But having two people who are committed or have a certain level of commitment to who they're going to be individually helps a lot in making sure that things only go so far.
Absolutely. And I think that's this idea of having a relationship with self, knowing your value and what you bring to every equation, and having that relationship with self and making sure that you do not devalue self because you're in a relationship with someone else. What I have noticed in my life is that the first thing to go is that people weaponize their love with resistance and withholding. Like, I'm not going to tell you you look nice. I'm not
Mm,
going to say something pleasant to you. I don't want to, I'm not even going to think a thought that would, because I don't like something you did, or I don't like what you're doing, or I'm jealous because you make more money, or, and it goes on and on and on and on. And then these become hard held habits of resistance and withholding that are weaponized in a relationship. Now you've got a gun to the head of the person that you say you're in relationship with, and it's like, I'm going to pull the resistance trigger
yeah.
at
Okay,
any
so let me say
second.
this because I do want to explore that a little bit, but I want to share this now. If for any reason the Wi-Fi clicks back out again, put a bow on it and we'll pick it up. We will get this right. We're gonna keep chugging along until we get it right. We will not be stopped. We will not quit with this. So just giving you a heads up now, but we're gonna continue this conversation as is. But if it goes out again, you can go ahead and just put a wrap on it, okay?
Thank you.
So I do want to share that the um figuring out how to navigate if my partner is unhappy, am I supposed to be unhappy? Is that what love looks like?
Oh, you're
If my
asking that
partner's
question?
depressed, yeah, like, well, I'm asking, I'm go through a few, and then I know the answer, but I don't know the why of the answer. So, if my partner is depressed, am I supposed to be depressed that my partner's depressed? Am I supposed to how am I supposed to navigate that? And I'm saying that on the back of what you just shared because like you said it's weaponized against you. It's like I'm going to withhold my joy, my happiness, my my buoyancy so that you can suffer right here because you in this room with me, so I can I can do that. You're in this house with me, so I can do that. You feel compelled to talk to me or to answer when I call, so I can do that. I can weaponize those things. So on the other side of it, where does it cross from love and compassion and empathy to being to putting yourself in bondage although you're so free? You get what I'm saying? Like going back to the beginning of the conversation earlier, like where's the line on how to operate in that, if that makes sense at all?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. The image that was coming to mind is that you go and you do something, and it's something with some level of notoriety, and people are like giving you high fives, slapping you on the back. You get home, and there's nothing. It's all flat. Nobody has
Yeah,
anything to say. People are calling on your phone while you're with your partner saying, "Congratulations, you did great." They're not saying anything. People are knocking on the door. Oh, that was wonderful, and the partner's still not saying anything. That is what most people experience, where there's not support in what can be supported, but there's also
mm,
many reasons for that. And some of the many reasons are, a lot of it actually might be chemical because of the food they eat, so they're in depression. And when a person is at below a certain level, they are not capable, their brain is not capable of being above it. So if they haven't had enough respect for self to make sure that the brain chemistry is right, because they're microwaving food that takes all the nutrients, or they're eating processed food that changes the chemical composition, or they spend 15 hours a day looking at the internet, then their brain chemistry is off, and they can't be moved into compassion to be with a person, because their relationship is with things like processed food, and their relationship is with their addictions, their drug, or their whatever their addiction is. So they really don't have room in their experience for you. And I think it's only a matter of time before the high value of self pops you out of a relationship where there's no joy for your accomplishments. There's no smile when they see you coming, where, everything has been weaponized with resistance and withholding. Like, I'm not telling you anything. I'm resisting everything you do. And the way that one of the indicators are, the very first thing to go is laughter. The very first thing to be on the lookout for is if you used to laugh with someone and you stop laughing with them. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Because that's clear withholding. If you have ever had humor and it was part of your experience and suddenly it goes away, that's withholding, because you're still funny. I know I've spent years being funny and it wasn't always recognized. So laughter is the first thing to go. Withholding love, withholding laughter, withholding approval is the weapon of choice in our world. I'm not going to comfort you. And instead of telling you I don't want to, I will cowardly just not approve, not laugh, I will resist all of the positive that comes into our experience. So it comes in flying on a wave, and then it drops to the ground. And now it's useless. And if you stay in that experience, then you have allowed yourself to be devalued. So this relationship with self, the very first thing is find someone who has value for self enough that they will do the things to keep their chemistry, their bodies, and their disposition, no matter what, at a level that's conducive to loving and being loved.
That right there, that's I think the crux of this is, it's the answer, but it's also the equation, the find someone part. It's like, yeah, find someone, sure, who is committed to this and who is about this. And then your whole discernment process, your whole weeding out process, your whole even attraction process is all about you. What I just thought about when you said about, well, me repeating what you just said and then thinking about discernment is like, okay, so you're teaching a class right now called calibration, where you're teaching about how to find the clarity, or the how to live in the answers, how to find the true yes, the true no, the directions to go, and how to, navigate what you're doing. And although we're speaking about ourselves with extensions or bringing other people into our lives, I'm still hearing and seeing that it all circles back to our own wholeness, our own skill set. So if we have that skill set of discernment at a pure level, energetic level, a frequency level, then it will allow us to navigate through, sift through some of the, oh, this looks good, but it's not. Oh, this sounds good, but it's not. Oh, this is portraying as this, but it's not. Or this is great, but I'm not on that time. I'm not ready, whatever it might be. So I'm still hearing it still all circles back to how we build ourselves up, right?
And sometimes it may mean that you have to sit down. Maybe you have to sit down for a year or two while you're waiting for the thing.
5 years, yeah, I did, yeah.
Sometimes you may have to sit down and just wait because what you see is not igniting in you what you want and understand that is what you're calling for. You're calling for your experience. If you feel that you must have someone all the time, it is unlikely that you will have the right one. Sometimes you have to develop you and your idea and then allow it to come to you in however, whatever way it does. I have found over time that nothing ever happens the way I thought it was, but everything happens that I thought it
Mm.
would, but not the
Yeah.
way I thought it would. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to sit down and quiet yourself and work on you instead of working on how to make someone else do for you the thing you want them to do for you. Because
Mm.
that's a sloppy equation where the person at the other end ends up a slave. And it doesn't
Yeah.
you haven't learned to, and this is back to the first question I asked you, where, are you being the best partner? Are you giving the things you need to give? Are
Mm.
you weaponizing and withholding and being less than loving and accepting and respectful, thinking they owe you everything?
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
That
Those
okay, so
microaggressions end up being macro dissatisfactions. Those little
okay, so
microaggressions.
yeah. I was gonna say we've spoken about this before in other contexts through business and things like that. However, we've spoken about this concept how when you have a more of a vision for someone than they have for themselves, or you have a clearer vision, or you're the one who's ready to initiate your vision for someone else, you're setting yourself up to have distaste for that same person that you saw could be so great. When you want more for them than what they are actively pursuing. Like if their actions are pursuing it, then they're the ones who's initiating and you can support that. But if we are the ones who are, I see you could be this, or I see this potential in you, I see this and third, I often see that I end up having, like, not just being like, oh, it didn't work out, but actually having a distaste for the person who I initially might have had that type of thought for. You get what I'm saying? And I see it happen through casual interactions, friendships, associates, whatever different ways it circles. But I'm hearing that playing through the relationship lane as well, that how we could want so greatly for this certain dynamic, and it goes back to the acceptance you spoke about. But we could want so greatly for the certain dynamic, and then we sour ourselves on that person because they were never that. They were never, or at least they were never actively being that. So it was a hope. It was delusion, actually, is what it was, because there was no actual facts that was being lived that supported what we thought. We saw the makings of, but the makings, we all have the same foundational makings, you know what I mean? So it's we once we locked in on that, then all of a sudden we start pressing that, and then we start to, like you say, enslave and in bondage the other involved in the dynamic. It's a thing. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like we create the experience, and then we have to live in it, and we have to live in our distaste for the person right next to us, or the person we talk to regularly, or the person who we want so badly to just be a different way. We got to live in that distaste because we want it so badly and they don't want it so badly.
It's
It's
so
real simple.
interesting,
Yeah.
what you're talking about. I have a slightly different point of view on it.
Hmm.
Um, I often, because I've lived a long time and I have a lot of experiences, I have a lot of information where I can see trajectories. I can see, oh, this combination of things would make this thing happen, and this combination of things make this thing happen. And I have been uh, guilty so many times of sharing my thought of the trajectory that I can so clearly see to a person who then accepts it, but it's not theirs. And then they are unable to accomplish the thing that they never saw,
Yeah.
and but the way I feel about it is how I must work on myself to make sure that I look for the clues. It's like with a child, especially a difficult child, you may have to look for the opportunities to reward them. Like, oh, they did something good. Let me say it. Like you may have to look for opportunities so that you're not always in dissatisfaction. So
Mm,
it's the same thing. Instead of moving out and verbalizing the trajectory I see for a person, I have found my lesson has been to just keep that in mind. And if I'm ever asked, it's available and not give. If you don't ask me, I work on not answering what is not asked. I
yeah.
work on just keeping it and having the best energy with it. But if you don't ask me, I'm not answering because it doesn't work for me to answer what you're not asking me. And I
Yeah.
have, so that's a slightly different view on the same idea. And it's not so much that I'm soured on the person. I'm just always reminded it would have been better had I allowed the universe to move the person into the space where they were willing to do it.
Hmm. So I got something I want you to give me some advice on. Um, so I have this thing that I deal with internally in my mind in some of my relationships, and this is not only like romantic relationships. This is just in relationships in general, friendships, etc. Um, where I I think that I understand how the person that I'm communicating with or in a relationship with feels um about us, let's say they're expressing to me. I think that I understand them. I think that I get it. But oftentimes I don't I have a hard time, number one, conjuring up the passion or the intensity of how they feel. I have a hard time being able to tap into the compassion to the level that they feel it in order to respond in a manner that might be satisfactory. So, if a person is feels a way, whether it be about me or it be about a situation or it be about life, I get it here, but I'm very like how we're talking right now about my response and how I feel about it or how I can it almost feels like there's no connecting there. There's no compassion there. You get what I'm saying? And
I
there's
think I understand
yeah.
what you're saying. Like you feel that there should be more of an emotional response.
I'm not saying that it should be that I should be, but I do feel that there's an underline of dissatisfaction that I don't go there. I don't tap into that level of intense compassion or that level of maybe emotion,
Are
in
you
that.
saying that the dissatisfaction is what you want to tap into?
No, no, no. I'm saying that I experienced that. I feel that it's that some do not uh that I don't respond adequately enough
I see.
to what someone else feels, expresses, et cetera, because although I understand them, how I communicate or how I'm wired, maybe is how I think of it. How I'm wired is just not to show, I don't show the empathy or the compassion in a manner that I think seems to be not satisfactory, at least regularly. You get what I'm saying? So that's a part of it. So there's that, uh, which is which to me, I I feel like the person. that I've left the person wanting more consistently. You get what I'm saying? Or I've left them feeling like, like, dude, like you don't really, really, really feel intensely how I feel, or you
Right.
don't like you're not tapped into that. But then what that carries into is uh maybe it's because you raised me, but I'm very do a lot of wanting to pursue solutions, wanting to pursue problem solving, wanting to pursue the answers, wanting to pursue, that level, that lane without giving enough or without giving a lot of space for the experience. You get what I'm
I
saying?
I most certainly do understand, and it may be because you are
Right.
that from my perspective, from the point of view of having done what I do, the intense emotional reactions to whatever the experience is does nothing to solve the problem. So if you say to me, like my mother would say to me, there are children starving in Africa. And if I cried, it would not solve the problem. However, I might be able to grow up and be a person who can do something about that. So from the perspective I work from is the emotion has very little to do with the action that solves the issue. If you listen and you take it in, and if you were to catch the frequency of the intense emotion of whatever is being shared with you, now you're both caught up in that intense emotion. Who's going to
Question
solve the
before you keep
problem?
going. Just so I'm clear, the I know that there's a range of acknowledging and giving credence to the emotions without me diving into them too. How do I get into that sweet spot where where I'm giving more than dry or surface maybe, or only solution based type responses? You get what I'm saying?
I think a lot of it has to do with who are you talking to and what are they looking for? Someone calls you up and they have a dire situation and they say, I really have this really difficult situation. I'm really upset. And then you say, I understand. Let me go right to solutions. So with some people that will work. With other people, they're like, you don't understand. Your reaction
Mm.
is not showing me that you have bought in emotionally to what I'm presenting to you. And my answer to that would be stay with logic, reason, and understanding. Because in a real catastrophe, when things really get upset, when something really happens, you will be valued. And I have been
Okay,
in those
so
situations and
in
I
my
know that to be
defense,
true.
right? I was gonna say, in my defense, I do know that when, although on the day to day, maybe I'm not as pissed off about the group chat as you are, or maybe I'm not as whatever it is or that or the third. But like you said, when all hell is breaking loose, there's a level of stability that's there and a level of not being drowned by the feelings in the moment and being singularly focused on what's the answers. Let's live in the answers right now. Let's,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And obviously there's a lot of us who are like that, and there's a lot of people who have that, as Shaka said, that emotionally availableness, where they can kind of balance that. And I want to become more and more well-rounded in that for my relationship, especially. And I will be, I will um, express that I don't think that with my children I'm so unavailable, or I'm so distant emotionally. I think I'm all extra sensitive and this and that, third. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. However, I will admit that there's a different level of compassion that I have for others than I have like with the children, and maybe I want to tap into that in some of my relationships. It reminds me of how you say, remember in some of these relationships, remember above all else, you love them, you
Right.
know,
Right.
because if I can tap into that, Now, I can't spread that very wide. That's gonna be a few. That's gonna be a small group of people. You know what I mean? However, if I can tap into that, I do think that I can become greater, become more. To me, it just makes me even more powerful to be able to not only understand, get it, but be able to engage in a way that people can really feel uplifted from. You get what I'm saying? And feel from it. So,
We
this
have to
that's one.
remember that we are, as humans on earth at this time, we are extremely emotional. Look at who's fighting, look at the wars. We're extremely emotional politically, culturally, in schools, all in all areas. We're extremely emotional. I would encourage that we use our emotions strategically. That you
Mhm.
call forth logic, reason, and understanding to help you through your difficulties. Look for the way to calibrate. Look, how do you get a rocket to the moon if you don't know how to calculate? How can you solve the problems in your life if you won't be still and put down what is factual and what is possible? The
Mhm.
emotion is not a negative thing, but it's not a place to just stay all the time. If you don't like what's going on in the chat, get out of the chat. It's not
Right. See,
complicated.
here you go. Yeah, you rubbed off on me. You made me like this, man. No, but I want to do two things. One, I want to read some through this chat because I'm
Okay.
very grateful for everybody engaging in the chat. So I'm gonna read just a few people and of what they're saying and all. And first I'll just start with that. Obviously we got Stacy in the house. We got Madame in the house. Um, we have quite a few people. Aria, someone named Fight, although they put a heart and a this son and that. So the fight, and then there's similar, balance. I get it. K and Lakesh and Veritas K. We've been talking lately. Cecilia. Um, we got loving you, honor, respect, love adjacent, compromise equals promise to have compassion for another. Aria, love this. Powerful. Thank you. Tavares said a few things. Tavares said microaggressions become macro dissatisfaction. Um, Aria said, do for self what you want out of others. That's a good reminder. She's saying thank you. Kay said 100, 100, 100. That's literally what she said. Uh, Tavares said, yeah, but do we really need to live in the distaste from what we are personally projecting onto people? Usually, the thing we want from others is the thing we really want from ourselves.
Right. Right. Right.
Uh, loving you said, don't answer what has not been asked. She was co-signing what you said about the experience you've had over time. Tavar said, my journey has taught me that acceptance is key and stretch to see yourself in others. The
Yeah.
other is you. There is no way around this universal law, oneness. Uh, Tavares trying to get something going there because that's sometimes a tough pill to swallow, especially in the dynamic of relationships. The
Yeah.
whole, oh, how is what I'm seeing from someone else me? That whole thing when this person's a jerk. But uh Shaka, I really appreciate you, Shaka, expressing, trying to give me some balance to my side of the experience. She said it could be that you're not emotionally in tune with yourself, could be emotionally unavailable. Um, Aria, what's your thoughts on this? You want to hop in the chat and express something? No, let's not do this now. Some things need to be felt and not dealt with. Yes, ma'am. Troy, it's like trying to be more relatable with people through expressing.
Well, it looks like we have lost Ahad again, and I don't know if this is the thunderstorms that are in Florida where he is right now. But we thank you all. We have used our time today. We're so happy. I love the comments, love all the interaction. I hope that you'll see us next week, and hopefully he'll be somewhere where there's no thunderstorms. And we thank you in Lakesh and Veritas with honor. respect, and gratitude. Thank you so much for joining us. Mhm.
Just text me saying wrap up, and it looks